The Lost City of Z. Hi, welcome to the recap room. In today's video, we'll be talking about a drama, adventure and mystery film based on a true story entitled The Lost City of Z. Warning, spoilers ahead. The scene opens at a British Army camp in Ireland, where a deer hunting contest is about to commence. Our protagonist, Percy Fawcett, is also participating, and his wife, Nina Fawcett, and their son, Jack Fawcett, are there to cheer for him. As the contest begins, Percy uses his horse riding skills to take lead and hunts down the deer in one shot. He wins the contest and expects that he'll be the center of attention at a party that night. But unfortunately, Percy doesn't get any recognition at the party due to the bad reputation of his ancestors. Then 1 year later, Percy is informed by his superior that he's going to the Royal Geographical Society in London for some exploration work. He arrives in London and meets the president of the society. The president informs him about the increasing tension between Bolivia and Brazil. The two countries are going against each other to determine their borders, and they want the Royal Geographical Society to plot the map for them. So Percy's job is to go to the Amazon and create a map. Performing this task will award him great respect in the army, and he will be well off for the rest of his life. Percy decides to take the job and says goodbye to his wife and son. He gets on the ship and begins his journey. On his way, he meets a guy named Henry Costin, who wants to join Percy on his mission. Costin knows a lot about the Amazon jungle, so Percy agrees to take him with him. Later, he receives a new order that they need to find the source of the Verde River, as it is critical for creating borders. Now the scene changes to the Amazon rainforest, where Percy and Costin are taking readings to plot the map. By the end of the day, they reach the last known human settlement, which is controlled by a corrupt leader, Baron de Gondoris. Gondoris runs some illegal rubber plants in the area and has enslaved many people. Percy introduces himself and tells him about their exploration. He asks Gondoris for an Indian guide and promises that in return, he will have good relations with the British. He reluctantly agrees and gives Percy an Indian guide and some slaves to help him in the exploration. Now the crew begins their journey into the Verde River. After some weeks of sailing, the crew finds a wrecked boat with a dead body on it. But before they could investigate, one of the slaves suddenly gets hit by an arrow. And a group of tribal people attacks their boat with bows and arrows. The crew jumps into the river to dodge the arrows, but the river is filled with piranhas. They lose some slaves, but somehow manage to pass the tribe. After traveling for many months, the crew is starting to run out of food, and the people are starting to get sick. Percy asks the Indian guide how long before they reach the source, and he replies a couple of weeks more. There, the Indian guide tells him that there is a city of gold in this forest, and a lot of people live there. Percy doesn't believe him at all, as there is no sign of human existence around them. That night, Percy misses his wife and son, and says that he shouldn't have accepted this job. After a few weeks, a fight breaks between the slaves due to the shortage of food. Costin shoots one of the slaves in his ear to end the quarrel. Then, the Indian guy starts saying something and points toward a fountain. The crew sees that it's the source of the river. Costin is extremely happy to see the fountain and starts shouting in joy. He and Percy take the last reading and hear something moving in the distance. They go to check, and it's a wild boar. Percy shoots the boar, and everyone is really happy that they finally have something to eat. There, Percy finds some utensils on the ground. The potter makes him believe that the City of Gold might be real. Then, the crew gets on the raft and returns home. Everyone has gathered to celebrate Percy's achievement, and he is delighted to see his wife and their second son, Brian. He meets Jack too and thanks everyone for coming. Later that day, a huge party is thrown at the Royal Geographical Society, and Percy finally gets the attention he deserves. There, he meets a senior biologist, James Murray, who is really interested in exploring the Amazon with Percy. He praises Percy for his recent expedition, and the two become good friends. Then, Percy reveals that he found some pottery in the jungle, but people tell him to keep this information to himself and not praise primitive people. This slightly infuriates Percy, and the scene ends there. After some time, a conference is held in the society, and Percy starts his speech. He mentions primitive again, so everyone makes fun of him. He says he wants to go to Amazon once again and find the infamous City of Gold. He calls it the Lost City of Z. Murray and Costin support him in the conference, so the society agrees to another expedition. Now we see the crew back in Amazonia, and Murray has also joined them. But due to his excess fat, he's having a hard time working with others. The crew then continues moving in the river, but they soon get attacked by a tribe. Murray wants to shoot at them, but Percy tells him he has a plan. He waves a cloth in the air and the primitives pause their attack. He makes friends with the primitives and the rest of the crew joins them too. There, Percy and Murray are shocked to find that this tribe has adopted cannibalism. Now, Percy gives a necklace to the leader of the tribe to strengthen their friendship. He asks if they know anything about a city in the forest, and the leader says they are not sure. He tells them to move forward in the river and they'll find some people who can help them. So the crew decides to move forward, but Murray is holding everyone back. He ate a ton of food and has gotten an infection in his leg. The crew somehow takes Murray on the raft, but he's ruining everything. 1/3 of their food gets flown into the water because of him.
Swim to shore!
And he has become a burden on the crew. He requests everyone to kill him, so Percy makes a decision. He gives Murray their last horse with enough supplies and sends him back. The rest of the crew continues their journey, and Percy starts seeing signs of civilization. But Costin calls him back and reveals that Murray put oil on all their food supplies. Everyone is super angry at Murray, but there is nothing they can do now. With no other option left, the crew abandons the expedition and everyone returns home. Percy meets his daughter Joan for the first time, and his other 2 sons have grown significantly. Later, he goes to a conference at the Royal Geographical Society and sees that Murray made it back alive. To his surprise, Murray is suing him for leaving him alone in the jungle and even asks him to apologize. This fills Percy with rage, and he resigns from the Geographical Society and says he will never apologize. Percy comes home, and the situation gets even worse when Jack starts arguing with him for never being available as a dad. Already enraged, Percy cannot keep listening and slaps Jack before storming out of the place. After some time, Percy is called back to the army as their nation is going to war. At the camp, Percy meets a fortune teller and asks her about his future. The lady tells him that he's looking for something special, and if he tries hard enough, he will get it. The thing which Percy dreams about is great, and it is his destiny to find it. This fills Percy with hope again that he'll find the lost city of Z someday. Then Percy and his battalion start marching toward the enemy base. The battalion survives for a while, but falls prey to the chemical attacks by the enemy. Percy comes in contact with the gas tube and falls unconscious to the ground. When he wakes up, he's in the hospital with his family members around. His eyes have been temporarily damaged by the chlorine gas, and he was promoted to the post of lieutenant for his bravery. Seeing his father on the hospital bed, Jack apologizes for the things he said, and the two comfort each other. Then a few years later, Percy has recovered completely and lives in the countryside with his family. A reporter tells Percy that his expedition has inspired several nations to explore the jungles, and they have discovered more and more uncontacted tribes. Later, Jack proposes the idea of finding Z to Percy. He says that both of them will go together this time and make sure that they create history. Percy's delighted to see the passion in his son's eyes, and his dream is ignited once again. Jack convinces Nina to let them go, and they make the news public. Percy asks Costin to come with them, but he politely refuses as he has a family now. Before going, Percy meets the current president of the Royal Geographical Society. He tells him that if he finds the lost city of Z, he will send him his 20-year-old compass. So if the president gets his hands on that compass again, it means that they found the lost city of Z and decided to stay there. Now, the father and the son begin their journey in the Amazon. After months of traveling, they find another tribe, and Percy tries to befriend them, but his efforts go in vain as the tribe attacks them. Jack and Percy start running in the opposite direction and are saved by another tribe of the Amazon. However, this tribe is also unfriendly, and the primitives present Jack and Percy to their leader. The leader makes a decision, and the scene changes to night. The tribe gives a drink to Percy and Jack, which makes them unconscious. Then, they pick both of them up and take them to a river. Now, after many years, Nina meets the president of the Royal Society. She gives him a compass and says that some Mexican guy gave it to her a couple of days ago. The president is shocked to see it, as it means that Percy and Jack have found the lost city of Z. He immediately orders a team to trace the tracks of Percy and Jack, and the film ends there. That was it for the recap, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell as well, so that you are notified on our next uploads. Thank you for watching.